Thank you, everyone. If you could just take your seats, we will begin shortly. Thank you. The doors close and we shall begin. Good morning, everyone. You are very welcome to the Civic Mission launch in the beautiful surroundings of the Great Hall here at Queen's University. My name is Donna Traynor and I am really delighted to be your compere for today's event. Thanks to Loretta and to Dervla, who entertained us. Some beautiful music. A round of applause, please, for our entertainment as we made our way in. Absolutely beautiful. And ladies, you've certainly put us in the mood for what's going to be a very uplifting occasion. We have an exciting and diverse lineup of speakers for you today. And I can guarantee you will hear some very positive and worthwhile contributions. Before we begin the proceedings, I have some important housekeeping for you. We are not expecting a fire drill this morning, so should the alarm sound, please leave this great hall through the exits at the rear of the hall or the door behind me. The fire assembly point is in the quad area, which you will have passed in on your way here today. We ask you to gather there and do not return to the building until the all clear has been given. Now, would you please put your mobile phone on silent, just not to interrupt the atmosphere, but please do use it to take photographs, to make comments, and to post your thoughts on social media. We'd really encourage that. The hashtags we're using today, love QUB or QUB Civic. Use one or the other, even better, use both. You will see when you came in, before you sat down, the little postcards that were on your seats. As the morning passes and when you feel inspired, please note down your thoughts or your comments and write them on the postcards. We really encourage you to do that because the team here would love to get your feedback. And on the way inside, you will have passed out in the entrance there what's affectionately known as the Civic Pillar, just outside our doors here. And that's where we would love you to hang your postcards. You will see everybody doing it when they leave today. So we'd encourage you to take time to write your thoughts down and your comments and to post that postcards on the Civic Pillar when you leave. And after you've left yours, take a little bit of time to reflect and to read the others that are also posted there. And that sharing is very much part of today. The theme is about partnership and collaboration. So let's get started then and listen to our first speaker, Dr. Ryan Feeney. He is Vice President for Strategic Engagement and External Affairs, and he will now officially open this event. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Ryan Feeney.
Well, thank you, Donna, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Great Hall here at Queen's as we launch our ambition to become a civic university. As we approach our 180th year, it is fitting that we not only reflect on our contribution to the city and to this region, but also look forward with renewed vigour to the many challenges that face society today that Queen's can help alleviate. This morning, we're setting out our vision. We're also promoting debate, discussion, about where we are at as an institute and where we today can work with our partners to enhance collaboration and build a positive future for not only the 25,000 students that come into this university every day and the 5,000 staff, but for alumni across the world and for this region and for our people and this place. Building on the foundations of the University Social Charter, which was launched 6 years ago, and the recent announcement by our President and Vice-Chancellor, Professor Greer, to pursue a University of Sanctuary status, this will marry our intention around our civic mission and how we will make an impact as a civic university. So what does it mean to be a civic university? We can call ourselves a civic university, but it's all well and good saying you're a civic university. You actually have to be one. So civic engagement in higher education is about this university's commitment to make its local community a priority and make it part of its purpose. So put simply, we're here to make a positive impact on our community, which we are based in, and the community which we also serve. We are totally committed to shaping and leading decisions that affect the lives of our students, our staff, the communities that are around us, And that's why, as an institution, we are now striving to put the civic mission at the centre of everything we do. That is the ambition of Queen's, that is the goal set by our Vice-Chancellor, and academic institutions right across the UK and Ireland have been conducting civic engagement in some form since their conception. It forms part of the core purpose of any university to drive societal, economic and environmental advancements in the area it serves, but also for the wider regional and national agenda. So as a university, we already play a major role in that space. However, there's been a shift in the sector over the last number of years to actually put more of a core focus on this. And you'll see from the University Strategy 2030 document, it's one of the 4 pillars that we intend to deliver within the next number of years. The University's Partnership Programme, or UPP as it's known, is a registered charity whose aim it is to tackle the biggest issues that face higher education across the UK. It commissioned a major independent inquiry into the future of the civic university and how it examines universities and how they can successfully serve their people in place. In reviewing the evidence from a wide range of sources, the Commission determined that the characteristics and themes of what truly means to be a civic university, and also we have taken that template and now implemented it into our University of Sanctuary and Civic Charter ambitions. The report also determined that few institutions can make a distinction between being a civic university, one whose purpose and strategy is based around the locality, and one around civic engagement. The two are intertwined. And it's clear that Queen's is already operating effectively across many of the recommendations of the UPP Foundation report. So we have a strong track record of working with external partners to jointly address shared challenges locally, nationally and internationally, and that's very clear from the attendance in this room today. We have collaborators, we have partners, we have people that have helped us drive our civic mission. We have made a significant contribution to this region for the past 180 years and will continue to do so, hopefully for many years to come. But in response to the increasing body of work within the university and the honour to recommendations by the UPP, we have moved to ensure strategic resources and our focus on civic university is prioritised. Over the last year, we've consulted with partners and stakeholders to better understand how others view our efforts as a university. Their experience of Queen's has been vital in shaping our mission and giving us recommendations on how we could do better. And we'll continue to work in the coming months to develop a civic strategy which is reflective of the co-design approach that has been set by our strategic partners. So this university is a place that educates teachers and nurses and doctors and lawyers and engineers and poets and writers, political leaders and business leaders. But this university believes it isn't good enough for a student just to pursue their studies and get a degree. We want our students to leave this university with heads full of ideas and hearts full of hope in order to make a positive contribution to society. And in this place, as we speak, people are working on big issues. So at the end of Elmwood Avenue, our Centre for Cancer Studies, the Patrick Johnson Centre, is working to find a cure for cancer and is working to try and make sure that they can give people living with cancer longer outcomes. I know. I lost my father in February through work in this university. He got 4 years of life that he got to spend with his grandchildren. So thank you, QUB, because that is the impact that this university has on people's lives. We're working to promote peace throughout the globe through the George J. Mitchell Institute, taking the lessons that we know as a society that you can learn through the Good Friday Agreement and working in global conflict zones to try and find peace. We're finding solutions to eradicate poverty by developing social capital and capacity building in our communities in some of our most deprived areas, not only in the city, right across this region and island and right across these islands. And what we're working to do, and there's no bigger aspiration, is to take young people from a disadvantaged background and help them gain entry to higher education. Because as every study shows, as every great researcher and anthropologist shows, education is the key to solving most of society's problems. And in this university, our foundations are not centred on elitism, they're centred on equity. So we have a unity of purpose to contribute positively to our people and to our place, which is evident in everything that we as an institution want to do. So I thank all of you in this room that have helped us get to this point. We can recognise there's been significant progress made, but we're not resting our laurels, we have more to do. I want to pay tribute to our students and staff for all the work they do on a daily basis to really contribute to the civic mission. I pay tribute to our President and Vice-Chancellor, Sir Greer, for his unwavering commitment to the people of Belfast and Northern Ireland. I pay tribute to our Student Union President, Beth, and our incoming President, Kieran, for the unbelievable commitment that our students give through their many hours of volunteering, but the example that they set as the next generation of leaders in Northern Ireland. I thank our Senate for their strong support for a civic mission. And finally, I thank our civic engagement team led by Alistair Stewart with support from Aileen Cummins, who work daily to deliver on the civic mission. We are grateful for all your commitment. So enough from me. I think it's important now we hear more about this civic university by watching this short video. Thank you.
Well, today we're here at the Spectrum Centre, really to celebrate the partnership that Queen's has had with this Greater Shankill area over around 10 years now. Queen's has got enormous reach across the community in Belfast and Northern Ireland, and reaching into communities like the Shankill and making a real difference to them and for them is really important to us.
This is a journey we're on from serious disadvantage in the Shankill over a long period and over a number of decades with redevelopment and the troubles and the loss of jobs and shipbuilding and so forth. And we're on a journey back, and we can't do that journey on our own. We need support, we need help, we need advice, we need guidance, and Queen's University have stepped forward in terms of civic responsibility as a civic university and have been working with us. So it's proving to be transformative. It's a long way to go, but it has been absolutely critical.
We're in Botanic Meadow. We're here with students and staff from Queen's University and other members of the public, and we're doing a BioBlitz. And a BioBlitz is basically we're observing and recording with an app called iNaturalist, and we're going to try and do a survey of the different species that are present on the site and compare them to the BioBlitz we did last year.
Today is a really important day. The reason I've come today is that we haven't had BioBlitzes in Northern Ireland in quite a while, and certainly not big ones. So to see people actually out and about again, getting involved, seeing who's actually on the field, getting contacts as well, it's really important because there's so much that we don't know about our wildlife here. There's so many records that we don't have. We are always looking for records. We can't actually bring in laws, legislation, we can't bring in the projects without knowing what's in the area. So having those records of what flowers are about, what pollinators are about, what key species we're seeing here, that's when then we can bring in our protected areas and we can actually protect these sites and those species here.
As a student at Queen's University myself, I feel really proud that Queen's has been able to get involved with community and look after the biodiversity. I'm honoured with it.
Well, we obviously see Queen's as just like the perfect neighbour, because not only do they have the technical scientific skills that can help us put on events like this, but also they have marvellous volunteering opportunities for the students and the staff.
So today we're here to celebrate a project called Translating Age. It involved 13 older migrant women who used arts-based approaches to tell the wider society what it means today to be an older migrant woman in this corner of the world.
These projects are very accessible and very appealing to people because they're not using like kind of traditional formal learning.
I liked my project so much. I said, no, I'm going to do it. This is my project, I'm going to do it. Because I enjoyed it. I felt good at the same time that I was able to do something.
It really does boost your self-confidence. It did with me. It made me go away more positive, not only in myself, but even knowing that I could go out there and I could do the jobs that I wanted to do, which I have. I've actually managed to find work, and actually through doing this project, because it really, really gave me self-confidence. It taught me to be positive about myself.
The Community Wellbeing Kitchen is a research initiative, and it's been designed to help address identified challenges in the market community. So evidence from QCAP's longitudinal study, Growing Up in the Markets, identified need and ongoing community level challenges around mental health, physical well-being and the cost of living crisis here in the market area.
I wanted to start eating healthier myself, and I want my kids do well. They're growing up, but I'm going to be a granny. So I just thought, maybe if I can change things
And it is easy to do, but it's hard to get it into your head without being shown. So I just thought to myself, right, I'm going to get involved in this. I'm going to try my best here.
I think the benefits of working with QCAP and having them in our area and taking an interest in our people and in our well-being and our community life is absolutely brilliant, and it's empowering us and helping us to grow stronger.
So today we're in the Crumlin Road Jail in North Belfast, delivering day 3 of a 4-day programme. And this is a programme for leaders, for senior teachers in primary schools in the Greater Shankill area. As part of Queen's, we're working in collaboration with the Greater Shankill Partnership to deliver this programme, and the idea is to provide support to mid-level and senior teachers.
I've always valued leadership and understood that leadership is important, but I suppose this course, which has been facilitated by Queen's, has given me a deeper understanding of the importance of leadership and the way that it is so essential in ensuring that the children in the school will get the best possible education with joined-up thinking.
So Queen's are investing in me, but equally they're investing in the children of the Shankill area, because they're allowing me as their teacher to develop my skills, and then also in turn I'll be helping them to develop their skills with the knowledge that I gain.
I think that deserves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic work being carried out. I think it was a wonderful reflection of how we've got to where we are today, and the terrific collaboration between communities in Northern Ireland and Queen's. And I look forward to hearing more about the university's civic mission as we move forward in our proceedings, which brings us to our second speaker, who is going to speak about Queen's University's strategic focus, civic responsibility and the path to sanctuary. Please put your hands together for Queen's President and Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sir Ian Greer.
Oh, thank you, Donna. It's really good to be here and to join you this morning. And can I thank all of you for coming to Queen's and making this such a successful occasion. It's great to see so many people from the different sectors, from community, from business and political sectors, all here today. Now, today is a really important milestone for Queen's as we advance our civic mission. It's an important step on our path to become both a civic university and a university of sanctuary. We want to reaffirm our commitments to our social charter and endorse the City of Sanctuary pledge as a measure of our intent to support refugees and asylum seekers. All of this is in keeping with our motto, what shall we give in return for so much, which is as relevant today as it was in 1845. Social responsibility and economic prosperity is a key pillar, as you've heard from Ryan, of our Strategy 2030, a pillar that recognises the unique and privileged position of this university. It's privileged because we get to shape the world we live in through economic and social impact that's endured over the years through different phases of the Northern Ireland and the Belfast economy. Our current focus, of course, is on the Belfast region city deal to bring lasting benefit to Northern Ireland and beyond. For us, that means transformational investment of £230 million in a programme that will create innovation centres in manufacturing, health research and in connected digital technologies. These centres will offer enormous benefits, not just to our economy, but our people of Northern Ireland, with fantastic employment opportunities in the years ahead. These are not university centres. These are centres that focus on the needs of business and industry in our communities, enabled by Queen's to make a real difference. Let me give you an example. Our economy's got many small and medium-sized enterprises. Few of them have the capacity or capability to do research and development, to develop new products, better products, and so expand their impact. By working with us with these innovation centres, they can make a real difference. Now, of course, it's not just economic impact that's important. Our social contribution is also important. So we work collaboratively, as you've seen from the video, with community partners to co-create and co-design programmes to tackle disadvantage and improve outcomes, particularly for children and young people. A good example is the MOU signing you saw on the screen with the initiative that we have with the Greater Shankill Partnership. That memorandum formalises our shared commitment in collaboration with people there to enhance the Greater Shankill area. Or you also saw the work that we did with the Queen's Community in Place, or QCAP programme as we call it, in the markets, another good example on the screens, where we've got this partnership between communities, policymakers and academics to make real lasting change. And we shouldn't forget widening participation. That's really important for our community in all its forums. Over 30% of our students from Northern Ireland that come to Queen's come from a widening participation background. We want to make that even easier going ahead and make sure that all these people who may have disadvantage have that corrected in their time in Queen's. We want to enable those most able but least likely to participate in higher education and have that equal opportunity. We also respond to needs highlighted by our community partners. Later this year, we'll celebrate the first cohort of students emerging with the Level 4 Certificate in Youth Leadership and Community Action, and that's a course delivered by our community partners, our city. We're also committed to sustainable development goals. Just 2 evenings ago, I was down in Dublin at an event there where we showcased major co-led centres for climate change and food security, where we're working in partnership with universities across this island and indeed across these islands to make a real difference. We want to ensure a better and more sustainable future for all, and that has to pervade everything that we do, from our carbon footprint to those co-led centres that I mentioned. Our student body, as I'm sure you'll hear from Beth, do a fantastic job, everything from volunteering to advocating for policy change. And going forward, we want to make even bigger impacts. So I'm delighted to announce that in the new academic year, we'll launch a new civic fund which will support ongoing engagement between our staff and student body to progress efforts to address social challenges. Queen's is also a great place in terms of bringing communities together and allowing them a platform to debate and discuss. And perhaps the best example of that was the Agreement 25 conference that we held just over a year ago. That conference stretched over 3 days, and we took time to reflect, to renew and to reimagine the Northern Ireland that we knew, know and can envision in the future. Queen's has always been that safe place for discussion and debate, and that's needed as much today as it has been in the past. During that conference last year, we also launched the Clinton Scholarship Fund, which provides young people who may not otherwise have had an opportunity to go and study in North America and progress their own lives in that way. Ryan mentioned to you the University of Sanctuary project that we have. And among our scholarships, we've expanded our provision to those seeking sanctuary, largely from war-torn countries. Our Coptic scholarships has focused on the problems in Palestine. We have 2 asylum seeker scholarships as part of our commitment to becoming a University of Sanctuary. And we've recently announced an increase in our provision of academic fellowships through CARA, the Council for At-Risk Academics, for academics who might be displaced because of these problems. And we've increased that to 3 per year. It's therefore fitting today that we make a pledge to become a University of Sanctuary, a university that will welcome those seeking sanctuary, facilitated through access to higher education and support also our local refugee communities. Before I conclude, I'd like to take just a moment to recognise the key contributor to all of these commitments and successes. Because having strategies, charters, award initiatives are one thing, but the essential asset is actually our people and their commitment to collaboration, and perhaps more importantly, their commitment to inclusion. Equality, diversity and inclusion is critical in all we do to maximise the impact and potential. So we're very proud just a few months ago to receive a Gold Athena Swan Award, the first on the island and only the second in these islands in the United Kingdom and Ireland combined, to achieve this charter mark of progress in gender equality. And we want to ensure that we use that as a platform to deal with other problems of inequality that we face in our society. So investing in our staff is absolutely critical, from wellbeing initiatives to development of greater opportunities for them to progress their careers. We want to empower them to deliver on our social and civic commitments. So in closing, I stand here proudly contemplating the journey that Queen's been on for the last 180 years, where we've been transforming lives from 1845. As we pledge to become both a civic university and a university of sanctuary, I'm in no doubt that we'll continue to build on these strong foundations and maximise our contributions to society, locally and globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sir Ian, for that insight into the collective work being done to make a genuine, meaningful and lasting impact on this place. I know the Students' Union has championed these causes for some time, and I am delighted to introduce the current Students' Union President, who after a busy time in her role will be returning to study medicine here at Queen's in September. So please welcome to the stage Beth Elder.
So yes, my name is Beth and I am the current Queen's Student Union President. I'm in my final month of office, which was great. And if you've heard me speak before, you'll know that I love talking about students and the impact that students have, and so that's what I'm going to do today. I am delighted to be here to recognise the university pursuing the University of Sanctuary status and to reflect on the Social Charter, particularly the role of students and the student movement to provide leadership locally and globally and in championing equality and social justice. And of course, the role that students have played throughout history in holding the university to account in these areas. Queen's Students' Union is the official representative body for students at Queen's, and it is entirely led by students for students. The SU is something different to every single student. For some people, it is volunteering. For others, it's getting involved in one of over 250 clubs and societies. For some, including me, it is a lifetime commitment to changing the world around us for the greater good. And for others, it is a £2 pint in the bar on a Friday night in our new world-class Students' Union building. But fundamentally, its core function is to advocate for the educational rights of students and to provide a space where students, moved by the issues of the day, can respond. Students have always inspired, motivated and driven change in our society, and student activism has evolved from grassroots movements and street protests to digital campaigns and global solidarity and mobilisation. Students have consistently been at the forefront of pressing issues such as LGBTQ+ rights, bodily autonomy, gender equality, anti-apartheid and racial justice, workers' rights and labour movements. And here at Queen's, our students are no different. I think of the civil rights movement in Northern Ireland during the late 60s and early 70s, where Queen's students were at the forefront, playing a critical role in organising and leading key protests and demonstrations. An example of this was the role students played in the People's Democracy Movement. This was a radical organisation founded by students in late 1968 who were inspired by a huge wave of global activism and by the domestic civil rights struggles that the people of Northern Ireland were facing. And in January of 1969, the People's Democracy embarked on the famous Long March from Belfast to Derry, which lasted for 4 days. This march was organised entirely by Queen's students and drew significant media attention and ultimately galvanised support for the civil rights movement in Northern Ireland. And I particularly think of the strong women who were involved in igniting change at the time. Bernadette Devlin, who was a key leader within the People's Democracy at a time when politics was a particularly unkind landscape for women, and who went on to become an inspiring and prominent political leader in Northern Ireland. Brona Hines, the first woman to be elected as Queen's Students' Union President, founder of the Northern Ireland Women's Rights Movement, and today she still continues her advocacy work in supporting marginalised communities and promoting equality. Student activism has paved the way for many future political careers, and even today, Emma Little-Pengelly serves as our Deputy First Minister, having done a term as Deputy President right here at Queen's Students' Union. She is inspiring the next generation of women in politics to be strong voices in advocating for change. Similarly, in the 1980s, Queen's Students' Union was once again at the forefront of the global movement opposing apartheid in South Africa. Students engaged in international campaigning to raise awareness and put pressure on the South African government to end its policy of racial segregation and discrimination. They also put some healthy pressure on the university to divest from companies operating in South Africa through organising rallies, educational events and sit-ins. The Students' Union even received international coverage for its decision to threaten to de-recognise the Queen's Rugby Club if it undertook the South Africa Rugby Tour in 1971, resulting in the rugby club taking a bold stand and not participating. The union even renamed the McMurdy Hall the Mandela Hall at a union general meeting in 1986 when Nelson Mandela was in prison in Cape Town. Mandela then thanked Queen's students for this act when he received an honorary doctorate from Queen's University in 2008. And again in 2015, Queen's students, through the Student Action for Asylum Seekers and Refugees, supported by the SU, led a campaign to seek the introduction of asylum seeker scholarships in Queen's. These students recognised the financial barrier faced by asylum seekers pursuing education in the UK and advocated for scholarships specifically tailored to their needs. Their efforts resulted in the university allocating funds for asylum seeker scholarships and in providing tangible support to marginalised communities. This was only possible due to a shift in mindset within the institution. Through creating these scholarships, which were the first of its kind in Ireland at a time when there was huge public discourse about immigration, Queen's showed that it had agency to act and respond to humanitarian crises without waiting for the government. Those seeking sanctuary are some of the most disadvantaged and vulnerable. A normal life has been stripped away from them. Possessions, personal documentation, academic records and resources, family, friends, support groups, personal identity, and their personal hopes and aspirations are all stripped away outside of that person's control. The scholarships were seen as a hugely positive step, a sign of leadership in our society, sending out a clear signal that refugees and asylum seekers are to be welcomed and supported, and that we have a fundamental moral responsibility to do what we can to support those in need and must view our educational mission as one which supports education across the world. Today, across the globe, we are once again seeing students provide leadership locally and globally in the worsening situation in Gaza. In December, the SU held an all-student vote to decolonise, demilitarise and democratise Queen's University Belfast, and following this, there were extensive conversations between the university, the student union, trade unions and students, and ultimately an agreement was reached. Within this, the university committed to call for an immediate ceasefire, divest from companies recognised by the UN Human Rights Council as carrying out listed activities in occupied Palestinian territory, develop a new responsible investment policy with a commitment to ethical investment, and to increase the democratic role of students on key university decision-making committees which oversee the university's finances and investments. At present, all 26 higher education institutions in Gaza have been destroyed. The university has very notably committed to support a programme to restore educational structures as soon as possible, including establishing a partnership with the university in Palestine, and announced support for academics at risk and Palestinian students through a fellowship and scholarship programme. To date, there have been over 80 applications for the student scholarships. These conversations are still ongoing, and these outworkings are undeniably a direct result of students once again leading and forcing these issues onto the agenda. They are also a reflection, once again, of the university's willingness to respond and to listen to students and to continue to lead in creating positive change both locally and globally. An important part of today is also to reflect on our positive contribution to the local community. The Student Union has always supported access to education in all forms as early advocates for what we now call widening participation. Our homework clubs is one such example, and this year we supported the running of 17 homework clubs across Belfast, helping over 400 children and young people with their studies and raising their aspirations for education in the future. And we are proud of the fact that some of these young people have also progressed on to be students, if not at Queen's, then at other higher education institutions. The SU Volunteering Department is also connected with over 500 volunteer organisations across Belfast and beyond, and we deliver almost 100 projects in the community every year, often working with the university's civic engagement team. I've had the pleasure of doing some taster sessions with SU Volunteer this year, and I can say that the impact that these organisations have on our local community is inspiring. But to finish, I think we often use the word holistic when talking about approaches to mental health, cost of living, and many other initiatives. But I think it will apply to the conversations that we'll hear today. Change is never brought about by one person or one group. It's brought about holistically through students and staff, protests, from difficult conversations in committee rooms, and through building connections and trust by working together. By taking a stand and actively pursuing University of Sanctuary status, the Queen's community is leading the way in these conversations and fulfilling the principles within the Social Charter. I am proud to be a part of this institution, and I am proud to be a part of the student movement. It is the adaptability of students that ensures that we continue to lead. Where others see crisis, we see doors of opportunity for change. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you to you and all of the students who have been engaging with the Civic Mission in the university. Well, as you heard, the university's Social Charter was launched in 2017, and it has provided the foundations for much of the work that we're hearing about today. And as the university moves to formally launch its Civic Mission, It does so firmly holding onto those principles of the Social Charter. And now we have a little special moment here today as part of this occasion, because we will have a signing of that Social Charter. So if I could ask, Beth was just with us there, along with Professor Sir Ian, if you come to the stage, along with Ryan, also Professor Judy Williams and the Students' Union President-elect Kieran Minto. Each of them will now sign their signatures on there you go, onto the pledge of the Social Charter. And as they do so, I'll tell you what they're reaffirming. The commitment is to 3 core principles of the Charter, and they are as follows: providing leadership locally and globally, promoting a positive impact on society through our research and education, and the pursuit of equality and social justice. These are the principles which guide and inspire the university's engagement with the local partners. So I think it's very fitting for this occasion that the Social Charter commitment is reaffirmed in this way, and your appreciation and support, please, to our signatories. Thank you for signing that in the presence of all of us today. Thank you. You can take your seats again. Important work being done, and important today to reaffirm that Social Charter. I think you will agree. And it'll be moved to the side of the stage. You can have a closer look at it later on when we break up and end the proceedings. Now, to the next part of today, and as our panel, I'd like each of you please to take your seats. As I do so, I'll introduce you. I'm really looking forward to this. We heard earlier about the university's leadership, about its active and strategic commitment to community outreach and a genuine desire to collaborate with purpose. We now have an opportunity to hear more about that engagement from community partners. So I'll introduce them, and perhaps you can keep your applause to welcome them just to the end. We have Mary Montgomery, who is the principal of Belfast Boys Model School. Fintan Hargy is a project and community worker at the Market Development Association in the city. Rada Patterson is a participant in the Open Learning programme here at Queen's. Israel Egwa Oje is the coordinator of Belfast City Sanctuary, and Diane Keys is from Conservation Volunteers. Our panel, ladies and gentlemen, looking forward to hearing their contributions. Mary, if you don't mind, we're in an education institute, so we will start with you as an educationalist. You're principal of the Belfast Boys Model, and you've devoted yourself to education through your leadership and teaching roles, and I know you are passionate about inequality in education. We'd love to hear, and we saw a little bit on the video and in some of the speeches, we'd love to hear about the school improvement that you've been leading with other schools in the Greater Shankill area, supported by Queen's. What have you been doing, and how's it going?
Okay, thank you, Donna. My name's Mary Montgomery, and I'm principal of the Boys Model School. I've been in that school and serving in the Greater Shankill area for 31 years. So I'm just going to start by thanking Queen's University, Professor Sir Ian Greer and the team, the civic engagement team, because what I've experienced probably in the last 10 years, but in a more concentrated way in the last 3 or 4 years, is the execution of a sense of civic commitment in a really tangible and meaningful, and Jackie Redpath used it in the video, a transformative way. We live in a time of cuts and a very constrained and restricted education system that lacks creativity. So for us, as we said in the video, there's been engagement with Queen's University for about 10 years through the Young People's Zone, Children and Young People's Zone that was established in the Shankill. But more recently, and really emerging out of post-COVID, there was a sense within the team at Queen's and a desire to do something more tangible. So that began really with an initial conversation between the 8 primary schools that there are that serve the Shankill Road and the 3 post-primary schools, and that includes myself in the Boys Model, the Girls Model, and Hazelwood College. And as you can imagine, those 11 schools capture all of the young people who live on the Shankill And as a result, those schools face disproportionately high levels of challenge as a result of social inequality. And we have high levels of free school meals, between 60 and 70%. We've high levels of special educational need. We've high levels of newcomer pupils. And I suppose as a leader in an area of disadvantage, I did a history degree, and then I did a PGCE. So nothing really equips you for serving in an area of social disadvantage. And leadership often feel ill-equipped and searching for answers in what I described earlier as an unresponsive and lacking in creative system. So what we did with Queen's was we explored ways of applying the principles of the Fair Start report. I was one of the authors of the Fair Start report, as was Jackie Redpath. And in the absence of government funding, we looked to our partners in Queen's, and we began at various levels to invest in that school leadership. Now, we've concentrated our efforts in the primary schools because we as post-primary schools can achieve an enormous amount, and we do. Some of our pupils are the highest performing pupils on free school meals in Northern Ireland. But really what we could see with our partners at Queen's was the opportunity to intervene early with the primary school children. And it's the old adage, you can provide a fish or you can provide a fishing rod. And we felt that if we could invest early in the primary schools and in the leadership there and in the young people there, then we would equip them for the future. So we've a multifaceted programme, and that started with investment in school leadership. Coming out of COVID, I'm sure you can remember, it was challenging for us all, but it left school leadership really depleted, and significant pressures on staff well-being and so on, and principal well-being, and many people leaving the profession. So with the help of Queen's, we've invested significantly in a programme of leadership professional development and also well-being, which has included coaching and bespoke and pinpointed investment in supports that are particular to serving in areas of social disadvantage. We've also, and it was in the video there, we've also invested in our senior leaders, so vice principals, subject area leads through the Clinton Institute, which has again been provided through Queen's. We've invested in middle leaders, again through Queen's University. And finally, one of the things that happens is that we get newly qualified teachers who arrive in the Greater Shankill area, and they are middle class. They've been to grammar schools, they've had lovely holidays, they've had a very nice life, they've gone to university, and then they arrive in an area of disadvantage, the like of which they've never experienced. So Queen's have funded an induction programme for our early career teachers, which is contextual and gives them an insight into what's going on the Shankill Road, and then discusses with them how they might respond to some of the challenges that they will meet.
And the success that you've had, I would think that model and the collaboration with Queen's can be replicated in many other places.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In the Fair Start report, we talked about an area-based approach to tackling disadvantage. And that's hugely impactful, because what you're effectively doing is you are establishing camaraderie. Leadership in schools is a lonely job. So one of the benefits initially is that camaraderie and sharing of the challenges that we face. But also then there is the sharing of good practice and the building of capacity. And what the system doesn't see, and what could be transformative in the system, is the outworkings of that is the empowerment and the agency that it brings, because the expertise is there. You draw together community partners, higher education partners, you bring people around the table who have an interest and an investment in education, and it's there. So it's economically effective, but it's also something that can easily be replicated.
Thanks, Mary. Rada, access to education is important to you as well. Rada is a lifelong learning champion, and she's been involved in, over the years, she's attended many short classes and short courses in Queen's Open Learning programme. Tell us about your experience and why you're a great advocate for people to keep learning.
Well, you learn very.
If you can hold that closer to your mouth, that'd be great, Rada. Thank you.
Yeah, I've done a whole variety of courses, languages, history, art appreciation, and I really, made a lot of friends. I learned all sorts of interesting facts, especially about Ireland, because I hadn't a clue about the history of Ireland. So it was really interesting to find out. There was a whole series of lectures on Ireland in the 18th century, and it was just so revealing, and you sort of understood the people you came across and everybody's point of view. And languages have been fantastic. I've learned Italian, and not only the language, but various cultural topics about artists or political figures. I made loads of new friends, and it's rewarding for everybody who comes there because it's a vibrant atmosphere. You can all give your own opinion. You're not afraid of speaking out. It's amazing, it really is. I recommend it wholeheartedly.
To start a course, not having done it before, I'm sure it's challenging. It could be off-putting for some. So how would you encourage them to join and to learn?
Well, it's just the atmosphere, because the lecturers are really welcoming. You generally come across somebody you know, because Northern Ireland is so small. You always meet somebody who knows you. And there's a link. So you're on an equal footing with people. You find a lot of them are from similar backgrounds. And there's the challenge of meeting somebody who's completely different. And it's a very relaxed atmosphere, a very welcoming space. So I don't think it's formidable. It's just exciting, really.
So if you haven't done so, now is your time. Thank you, Rada. Fintan, you're a project and community worker at the Market Development Association, and that's in the city here, the market area of the city. You and colleagues, you advocate on behalf of people for an area that has socio-economic issues. We heard earlier about QCAP. We heard it several times actually, and it's short for Queen's Communities in Place. Tell us more about the collaboration that you have had with Queen's and how that collaboration has impacted your work.
Well, it's really impacted on several layers. So if you look at a community like the Market, historically very marginalised, also very maligned. There's a quick anecdote that maybe helps articulate the sort of cultures that you're up against and that you're facing. So at the Agreement 25 conference last year, I was in attendance at it just before it started that morning. Pretty significant property developer in the city took a seat beside me. I'd met him a couple of times in the past, but he didn't recognise me. And he started venting about how the great and the good are here. They're all patting each other in the back. And what about the marginalised communities? What about the left behind? What about all those communities who haven't seen a peace dividend? So he goes on in this vein for about 5 minutes, and eventually I say, well, I'm from one of those communities. The penny dropped as to who I was, and his concern for communities in the abstract suddenly shifted. So he then started becoming politely aggressive and articulating the grievances that some of his colleagues had experienced in the Market in terms of bad property speculation that was opposed by residents. So I think that demonstrates an issue with the culture here. And it's a sort of pre-agreement culture, the leftover of a pre-agreement culture, where when communities are something that you do charity to, and they're passive and you deliver to, that's okay. But when communities are actually empowered and assert their own interests, it's resented. And I think you see that culture across the board in the statutory agencies, political, cultural sector, media sector. And I think where Queen's have shown real civic leadership there is by actually bypassing those old, decrepit, pre-agreement gatekeepers and working directly with communities that, again, historically marginalised and maligned, like the market, like the Shankill, and dealing with those issues directly. And I think they're showing leadership across the board on issues like that. So, you know, a year ago, they took flack from other universities across the UK for reaching a local settlement to the UCU disputes. It's already been mentioned there around the Palestinian scholarships, the city of sanctuary here today. So I think at a civic level, they're showing real leadership from working at the micro level with communities in Belfast through to those city of sanctuary and international solidarity issues. In terms of the day-to-day work, by its very nature, a lot of it's research focused and it's longitudinal studies, so you're not going to see the benefits of those right away. But there are sort of quick interventions that you can demonstrate there of the impact that it has had. Some of that is several large capital projects we're working on, multi-million-pound projects, which includes a 300-bed backpacker hostel, a community gym, etc., that are in different stages of development. At the moment, while we have a very strong, active community, that's mostly voluntary. You have a small staff team of 4 people. So if you're going to suddenly shift from being a community of employing 4 people through to running several large capital projects, multi-million-pound investments, and employing between 100 and 150 people in the next 5 years, the capacity needs to be built. So you're working with people in Queen's, experts in this field like Brenton Murda and Andrew Grounds and QCAP, who are working to develop that capacity. And that's part of the community wealth building strand. On another level then, in terms of the education strand, you're looking at what are the jobs and opportunities that our community could benefit from in the years ahead. What are the economic trends? There's a lot of talk sort of globally around a 4th industrial revolution and a shift to a knowledge economy. What does that mean to communities left behind by the shift from industrial to service sector economies? So, for instance, last year we had a STEM summer scheme, and that was kids P6 to second year, spending a week going to the Queen's Cancer Labs, going to the Queen's Sonic Art Studio, going to the Queen's Engineering Labs, and then doing a graduation ceremony here at the end of the week, which just being in the building, having that event, was a big confidence boost to the parents in particular. But then you're hearing anecdotes afterwards from the kids where that Christmas they're asking for microscopes. They want to be engineers, and it's opened up a whole range of educational and long-term employability opportunities for them. Likewise then, in terms of the work being done with Kathy Higgins and Anne Campbell in the realm of addiction, which is the main health strand of the QCAP partnership. A resident that was talking to a couple of nights ago had mentioned the family support group that's going on. So again, that isn't something that you're making a big song and dance about. It's something that doesn't have much publicity about it, but it's working there with a group of 10 mothers between their mid-30s and their mid-50s who have experienced serious traumas in terms of suicide and addiction issues. And it's developing their capacity as a cadre of community leaders to tackle those issues. And one of the mothers who was attending that herself had serious addiction issues over the last 20 years. Wasn't expected to make last Christmas. She's now in employment, she's now working, she's now in rehabilitation, she's been clean for 6 months. So again, you're constantly hearing more and more of those small stories, which, you know, in and of themselves are maybe small micro projects, but when you add it up collectively and link it into the strategic work that's being done, it's being transformational. And again, I think another good example of that is the recent People's Tapestry that was launched. So that was an arts-based project working with a group of older people in the area and a group of teenagers. A lot of those teenagers in and of themselves were maybe doing quite well. So some of them are going on to Liverpool University in September, other universities in England, but they've never seen a future for themselves in the community or having any connection with the community. Through that People's Tapestry, addressing issues of trauma within the community as part of that, and working with older people, and now seeing the way their sort of strategic vision in the community, the partnership with QCAP. What they're now saying is, where a year ago I wouldn't have seen a future there, and I want to come back, I want to reinvest in the community, and I want to be part of this transformation.
Amazing work, that partnership and that theme of being inclusive. I remember someone telling me once as well, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we should speak. The impact on your community, you've given us several examples. What impact do you think you've had on Queen's in having that collaboration?
well, a lot of people are working a lot more evenings and weekends than they maybe would have historically. Again, you recognise that from the get-go. Queen's is a massive institution. Universities, by their very nature, are very hierarchical, very structured in how they operate. And you're coming into communities where you're dealing with what one author calls the chaos of poverty. So, you know, people in their day-to-day lives, they're dealing with mental health crises, addiction crises, unemployment, all these different issues, pain and trauma on top of trauma, on top of trauma. And there's a big cultural shift in terms of how people need to work and how people need to operate. Again, while we might have conducted pieces of community research in the past, there are as much tools for community organising and community engagement as they are about finding out a particular issue. So it's how you merge those two things, those sort of different cultures of research, those different cultures of organising, and those different cultures of working. And I think that's, you know, mutually beneficial for both partners. And you've seen the growth, both in terms of ourselves and how the Queen's academics engaged in those projects work on them as well.
Thanks, Fintan. Diane, on a similar theme, your work is about creating lasting outcomes in the community, and you're the operations leader of the Conservation Volunteers. So you're connecting people with green spaces. Explain to us what you actually do and how that improves the lives of our citizens.
Okay, yes, so I'm Diane. I work for the Conservation Volunteers, so it's TCV. Pardon me. We're a UK-wide environmental charity, and we focus really just simply on connecting people to space and green places for lasting impacts for both. That's a combination of sort of 4 strategic goals of health and well-being to the individual, building community resilience, education and learning, and helping people reach their full potential, and environment. So that's enhancing our local environments, impacting positively on biodiversity and everything to do with nature. So sort of to give you a scale of what we do, UK-wide last year we worked with 87,000 registered volunteers, connecting those people to green spaces who transformed 1,382 green spaces, which are a legacy within nature and within the environment, which will benefit all living things as well as people and communities within proximity that can access those green spaces. A lot of our volunteering and promoting engagement it's very purposeful. It's getting people together to work as a collective to achieve, I suppose, environmental improvements, which have all of those raft of benefits to health and well-being, social inclusion, helping you reach your potential. It also really develops a sense of belonging within people, a sense of collective action to help mitigate the impacts of some of the bigger actions and, I suppose, climate emergency. So we help educate people, which through that collective learning you help reduce the levels of climate anxiety, which is particularly prevalent within young people, who are the next generations and the next generations of people that will be protecting and looking after our planet. So the work that we do is very simply getting people outdoors, connecting them. That could be health walks, that can be making the window box to take home to their own window, that can be getting together to enhance a local public green space, the schools grounds, alleyway projects, to real biodiversity action and habitat management on ASSIs.
The Queen's Sustainability team have done terrific work, and the university is committed to achieving net zero by 2040. How have you worked with staff and the students to achieve that ambition?
We've had the pleasure of working with staff and students on a number of brilliant projects in Belfast, the Greater Belfast area and Northern Ireland wide. A couple of examples of those are, we have a project at Queen's Elms with the local community of Lennoxville. So that's very much a hands-on with local community residents, students and staff who have developed a community garden, a horticulture therapy garden and a tree nursery. So there's a whole raft of impacts there that are for the individuals, for the students and the connection with local people. They're growing food using organic methods, which is promoting positive diets, nutrition, as well as reducing food miles and no packaging. The students bring a lot of the physical ability, because some of the people within the local community are elderly who maybe have mobility issues that can't do a lot of the hard physical work. So students and staff bring a lot of the energy, the muscle power, so to speak, to grow fresh fruit and veg, which is then shared among the collective, with the focus on some of the therapy and horticulture sensory growing that is really promoting, you know, relaxation, de-stressing, positive mental well-being, which, you know, helps mitigate some of the anxieties and stresses and demands of an academic year. Where we have worked on the tree nursery, so that's collecting seeds from native trees to grow them in the nursery setting, which are then nurtured by the community and the students, and then planted on in the Forever Home within across Belfast. So that links into the Million Tree Project, and quite a percentage of the students who are engaged in this project are international students, so they feel that planting trees in their Forever Home in the city that has hosted their studies leaves a real positive legacy of their time here, a connection to the city, as well as offsetting a percentage of their carbon footprint in the area where they have studied. Some of the other projects where we have had connections and worked with Queen's are where PhD students with a very specialism have been engaged in some of our partner projects. So that's the likes of working with Belfast City Climate and Resilience Strategy in partnership with Belfast City Council on the Upsurge project, which was part of the video there where they were doing the BioBlitz. That's bringing Queen's, I suppose, expertise, access to a lot of resources to do research, to build evidence-based approaches to nature-based solutions for citizens' health and climate emergency and positive planet. So it's brilliant to have that resource and connection to the academic side of things that backs up and really evidences the work that we do, which is engaging people at a grassroots level, that can be presented as strong, factual and evidence-based approaches to influencers, to decision makers who can help upscale, replicate, and then just bring breadth and depth to the scale of work that can be done.
Another great partnership between the community and Queen's. Now, we've heard about education, social challenges and the environment. Let's turn our minds now to an incredibly important matter, I think, perhaps now more than ever. Israel is with us, and he, over the past few years, has founded, he's led and volunteered for a number of organisations supporting people seeking sanctuary in Belfast, including children and young adults. Israel, tell us about the work that you have been doing.
Thank you very much. My name is Israel Egwaoge, and I'm a Nigerian by birth, German by nationality, and British by nationality. So that explains what drives me. Having spent time as a young person in Germany, then I was refused any access to youth initiatives, simply because I was an asylum seeker. And one of those youth organizations, they claimed that I have diseases because I'm Black, they don't want me in there. So I called the police, and the police said, they don't want you, so leave. That stuck with me, impacted my mental health over the years. And coming to Northern Ireland was an escape for me, to be honest, because Germany was very hostile in certain ways. So coming to Northern Ireland, I came here to study. That was the initial plan. But then me and my wife, who is a Russian, came here to study, but very quickly I developed an illness that then prevented me from proceeding with my education. However, my wife continued the journey and graduated here from Queen's, a PhD flying colors, which I'm very grateful for. And when I recovered from that illness, the first thing that I wanted to do was to provide information, because when I came here to Northern Ireland then, I didn't have access to that information that would have helped me to integrate or even seek further help. So the first thing I did then was to set up an organization that will share information, especially to those people who are newcomers in Belfast. That organization was NICON, a Nigerian community in Northern Ireland. I was the chairperson for the first year, and with the help of other organizations that I met, I was able to disseminate or share information on access to medicine, how to register with a GP, how education-wise, how to register your child in school, and also the school system in Northern Ireland. But very quickly, I realized that a lot of children were spending more time at home when I visited some of the parents, and I asked why are kids not attending youth provisions or youth activities, and carried out a kind of short survey, and 75% of the children did say that they didn't feel welcome in that environment. And coupled with my experience in Germany, that gave me the impetus to set up Diverse Youth. And today we have 269 young people as registered members, with the first venue up in Antrim Road. And that quickly developed, apart from just giving a room and a space to young people to feel safe and included, it will provide a holistic approach where we support the parents as well. Over the last 3 years, we've kind of like have a partnership with Queen's University. That's why this is very particular to me as well, where we have had 3 students coming for their internship programs, and one of them is gainfully employed by Diverse Youth today after his studies. And then ISA's Northern Ireland is a befriending organization that also reflects my own personal experience as a health and social care receiver of services, or service user, because I would digress a little bit to my daughter. I think when she was 5 years, we almost lost her because her illness was trivialized by a particular doctor that kept sending us home. Whenever we go to the A&E, he would assume or believe that my daughter was making things up. And finally, the last day we had to go, my daughter collapsed in my hands in the living room, and I told my wife, we have to go to the A&E right now. And when we got there, after 5 minutes, she just collapsed, and we ended up spending 3 months in ICU. And all thanks to Dr. Steen, who is one of the doctors then, I remember her words vividly. It was a mistake, we will fix it. And truly she fixed it. You know, I'm very proud of her. So after that day, I felt we didn't get any support, no help or whatsoever from the community. A simple phone call from somebody would have been very encouraging. So that is one of the reasons why I did set up IAssist and I as a befriending organization to befriend people who are going through such challenging times. Not just the individual, but also the family. So recently we're working with Macmillan Cancer, and the coordinator of that is right here with me, Tiwalade Olatuboso, who coordinates that befriending system. So I'll tell you a little bit about why we embarked on that. A service user, her name is Husna. She had allowed me to use her name for this today anyway. She's been attending the A&E for over 9 months, and her case was trivialized. She was sent home with paracetamol on 3 consecutive occasions. And finally, last year, October, when somebody decided to check her out and carry out a scan, they found out that she has stage 4 cancer. Barely a couple of weeks to live, or months. And when she was in the hospital, went to visit her, and she said, I will be discharged tomorrow. And I asked her to where? She said she doesn't know because she could barely walk. And her house, the toilet is upstairs, her bedroom is downstairs, the kitchen is downstairs, further downstairs. That wasn't conducive for her. So I was there with the SDLP leader, Paul Doherty, and we asked the nurse in charge, where are you discharging this woman to? Does she know the extent and the severity of her illness? She said yes, and she refused palliative care. And that is what actually broke me down. How could somebody in their right senses refuse care? knowing that she has a couple of months to live. So we went back to the lady, do you really understand the severity of your illness? She said, no. Apparently, they did not provide an interpreter. So even explain to her or hear back from her. So then I told the woman she won't be discharged, not on our watch, until she formally understands what she's going through. And they listened to me then. And they call her up like a multidisciplinary meeting here. They provided an interpreter. That was the first time she understood that she has till January to leave. And she declined care. She said she never said that. She only said, I would not want a male to care for me as a Muslim. So anyway, today she rang the bell. Her cancer has gone into remission, and we're super, super proud and glad. So City of Sanctuary, this is my backbone, I say. 2015, Colin brought me to City of Sanctuary. It describes everything that drives me. Welcome, safety, and inclusion. Those are the three words. When you talk City of Sanctuary, those are the three words. And I never stopped flying that banner of City of Sanctuary. Even when I was the chairperson, I was very proud to be a member. And the initiatives that the City of Sanctuary uses to promote those three words are schools of sanctuary, the libraries of sanctuary, colleges of sanctuary, and University of Sanctuary. And I'm very, very glad that today we're sitting here today talking about that. This shows that the sanctuary movement is not just a fancy word. It's a collective. It is a movement. And until we get there, we will never stop moving. Thank you.
And I'm sorry for the difficulties that your family have experienced, and I wish you all well as you move forward. Welcome Sanctuary and Inclusion and the University of Sanctuary. Related to that, Rada, the Queen's Translating Age project with older migrant women, we saw part of it on the video. What has been your experience of being involved in that project?
I was very excited to be in the project, to be part of it. And I met a lot of other women who had had similar experiences, and some who had had completely different lives. But we all bonded, we had something to offer. We were accepted on our own terms. We provided all our experiences. You saw in the video there was a wonderful dancer. There were people who did beautiful embroidery. There were people who came from far and wide who identified with Northern Ireland because they had originally lived on islands. It was just such an inclusive experience, and we gained a kind of shared camaraderie. We felt we were all one, because I had never thought of myself as an immigrant. And then all of a sudden I realized, yes, I'm living in a different country, and I am an immigrant. And you just accepted that you were welcome in a place that wasn't the country of your birth. It was a very rewarding experience. I really enjoyed it, every minute of it.
Thank you, Rada, and there's so much to learn from this project. I'd encourage you all to visit the Translating Age webpage, and you can access it through the Sanctuary tab when you scan your QR code on your card. Diane, we've heard about challenges today, the work that you're doing with the volunteers benefits the environment, the volunteers in the communities, but what do you think a place like Queen's can do more, and in do so, it'll benefit itself?
I think Queens are in a very privileged position to really help drive forward a lot of citizen health and climate resilience. And they can do that by, influencing a massive, massive number of people and a number of minds. And that's from undergraduates, postgraduates, the academic staff, the broader staff, everybody who connects with a university and an institution of this size. For the likes of ourselves and a lot of other projects that are represented here, it's bringing that academic expertise to projects, building the evidence, helping support that at a level where you have the evidence to impact cross departments, other stakeholders, to actually upskill and really bring a breadth and scale to all of the civic action and missions that are sort of collective responsibilities of everybody. I think they want to lead that change. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, because there are so many fantastic projects, so many fantastic groups, and so many brilliant things going on, that is just keeping in tune with them, keeping connected to them, and then really communicating within the structures that are within the university itself, but also the broader partnerships to help lead and drive change and encourage people to take the small steps that really will lead to the collective impacts.
Fintan, what advice would you give to other community organisations if they were going to work with a university like Queen's?
Well, I mean, there's no shortage of them. They're banging at our door asking, how do you build that relationship? How do you get that access with the university? I suppose for a bit of context, going back to the middle of the last decade locally, we put a big emphasis on shifting away from a service provision model of community organising to a community development to a community organising model. So it was about, there's no point trying to develop projects, there's no point delivering services if people are only passive receptors for that. And how do you empower people to take ownership of these things and to feel the ownership of these different initiatives and projects and events? So it was off the basis of that we launched our framework for community renewal in 2019. And when that was launched, again, a series of community sort of action groups were established. They addressed the 6 issues identified by residents, but one of the ambitions was, in the education strand of that, build a partnership with Queen's. Some of our committee were familiar with the work being done on the Shankill, and that was an aspiration of ours. Now that process was interrupted by COVID, and as it turned out, as we had the ambition of reaching out and partnering with the university reached out to us during that process as well. So I suppose there was a foundation of work that we had already done. We had clear issues identified within the community. There was already a community organising push underway, and issues had been identified through community research initiatives on that as well. So you weren't going to the university without clear demands, or clear asks rather. You had sort of clear asks, clear issues that the community had identified and wanted to work on. Now, that wasn't particularly prescriptive in terms of the broad issues of road safety, economic renewal, addiction. So, but it was having those sort of core issues identified that you were able to begin those conversations with the university, and the university was able to come in and enhance that process. So if people think the university is going to parachute in and solve these issues and do the work for you, that isn't happening. You need to identify what the issues are in your own community. You need to do a fair bit of the work first, and then you need to start engaging the university, baby steps first, but how the university can match up and support the initiatives you're trying to do. I mean, I like to think that the panoply of issues that you would have in the market and in the Shankill speak to communities across the board. So, I mean, what's being trialled and developed there, I think largely with a few tweaks could be rolled out in different areas. But again, it isn't necessarily the university's central role, albeit it does have a civic mission, a civic responsibility. It isn't its central role to do community development. So communities do have to have a concrete notion of what the university is going to do and where it's going to fit in.
Mary, underachievement in education, it's a complex issue. But what do you think has been learned with the partnership, Queen's, the community, the schools in the Greater Shankill area that they can grab hold of it now and use it for the future?
Well, I think it's really the power of partnership and the collective learning that takes place with partnerships, because often the solutions lie within, and it's about really taking space as schools to look at what the barriers are, what the challenges are in each of those contexts, and finding those solutions in an efficient way. Quite often the response of educators and of the department and so on is money, more money, and there isn't more money. And I suppose what we have learned from our partnership with the university is that the expertise lies within. It's about creating the space for us and being given access to expertise, to a team of people who have wider understanding and research and access to thinking that can inform then the steps that we take. And I'll give one example. One of the things that Queen's are supporting us with at the moment is more creative and innovative ways of looking at school governance and whole school or whole area-based approaches to how schools would actually operate on a day-to-day basis in terms of recruitment and arrangements for pupils with special educational needs and so on.
Thank you. Israel, finally with you, you're the coordinator of Belfast City of Sanctuary. And as we heard earlier, Queen's is going to become a University of Sanctuary. From your vision and your mission, how important is it for Queen's to make that pledge?
Let me just reiterate that the sanctuary movement envisions...
Just move your microphone up a good bit. Yes, thank you.
I just want to reiterate that the City of Sanctuaries movement envisions a place, UK, as a welcome, safe, and inclusive place for everybody. And I think it is a long time overdue. This Queen's would have been a University of Sanctuary a long time ago because Queen's represents inclusion. Everybody is welcome to study here. And we have been on this journey for quite a long time. And what this would mean is that Queen's University, I'm short of words to be honest. I'm just happy that this initiative has come up because it's going to help other universities. It's going to be a role model. You're going to be a role model for other universities and to follow suit. It's going to raise awareness on promoting safe, inclusive, and welcoming space of learning. And just finally, I would like everybody here to please join me in appreciating this.
Thank you to Israel, and thank you to all our panel guests. If you could make your way back to your seats, thank you for sharing your knowledge, your experience, and for telling us how you have collaborated with Queen's for the benefit of all. To our guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for their contributions. Listening to all of their contributions, I certainly feel inspired, and I hope you do too. We move on to the very last instalment of our launch event, and we heard from Israel speak so passionately about the importance of the Sanctuary Mission, a path which Queen's has chosen to take. Today is a very important milestone in that path as the university takes the first official step by endorsing the City of Sanctuary pledge. This pledge, like the Social Charter earlier, will hang proudly in the black and white entrance hall just behind us so that every guest who passes through the doors can learn of this crucial work. So Israel's colleague, Murshad Esfandiari, if you could make your way up, Murshad, thank you. He will now be joined on the stage again by Professor Sir Ian, Ryan, Beth, and Kieran, who will sign the City of Sanctuary pledge. And as they do so, I will read out that pledge again. We support the City of Sanctuary vision that the UK will be a welcoming place of safety for all and proud to offer sanctuary to people fleeing violence and persecution. We endorse the City of Sanctuary Charter and agree to act in accordance with City of Sanctuary values and apply the network principles within our work. We recognise the contribution of people seeking sanctuary. Sanctuary seekers are welcomed, included, and supported within our context. That is the pledge, ladies and gentlemen. Powerful words. You will agree, I'm sure. Our thanks to our signatories for making that commitment. And if you can make your way back to your seats, thank you. University of Sanctuary, Queen's University. And I will wrap up the formal part of today. Thank you for all our contributors. A reminder, please, that make a comment, give us your thoughts. There are postcards, as I said, on your seats there. Take time to post your pictures and your thoughts on social media. And don't rush off, because lunch is going to be served and we can have more time for conversation and chat. It's all about partnership, collaboration and sharing today. Thank you for being here. Please visit the website to keep up to date with what's going on in these crucial parts of work in the university. And don't forget to take time to look at the civic pillar as you post your card and read all of the others. This proceeding today has been recorded by Queen's and will be on the YouTube channel. So all I can say is enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to more conversation over lunch. I hope to see you all again. Wishing you well. Good afternoon.